Namaskar and welcome to another episode of What Does This Data Say? I am Ajay Prakash. In the run up to the next series of elections in the state assemblies, as well as the 2024 grand finale, the role of RSS has not been discussed too much. The RSS has a checkered history. It will be completing 100 years of existence in the year 2025. The role of RSS in India's freedom movement remains debatable. However, for the BJP, the RSS remains the big brother. The RSS has always helped BJP win elections, and in return, the BJP has to follow the laid down objectives of the RSS. And if you have not been observing the chess moves between the RSS and the BJP lately, then you would have missed the point that it is not business as usual between the two organizations. Though they come from the same Sangh Pariwar, but then there are people, there are aspirations, and there are undercurrents. Last year in June, Harish Khare published this article in The Wire titled, "After 7 years of Modi and Shah, the RSS's fall from grace is total and complete." Harish Khare was a media advisor in the Prime Minister's office till January 2012, and he also worked as a resident editor for The Hindu in Delhi. Khare has summarized the relationship between the BJP and the RSS in the traditional manner. This was a very clear quid pro quo stance taken up by the RSS vis-a-vis the BJP. In short, it meant the BJP does what the RSS wants it to do, and in return, the RSS would provide foot soldiers at the election time. Now, this continued for the last 60, 70 years, and it became so critical to the BJP success that the interference of RSS in the BJP hierarchy started increasing, and they started sending senior operatives on secondment to man key organizational posts within the BJP. Now, you can well imagine how Modi will view this feature of the RSS. Modi being Modi, he hates interference from anyone, not even his own colleagues, and let alone the RSS. So, a plan to put the RSS in its place must have started long ago. Now, on the other side, do you think that the RSS has always supported the BJP in elections? Well, not quite. If you go back to the 2004 election when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was seeking a third term in office, things went sour between RSS and the BJP. Let me very briefly go over why Atal Bihari Vajpayee lost. I'm sure all of you will remember the India Shining campaign that the BJP was running during the 2004 elections. And BJP had every right to call that campaign India Shining. The plain reason was that in the year 2003 and 2004, India had recorded a above 7% growth rate in the GDP. The per capita income of Indians had grown by over one and a half times during the Vajpayee period. From $413 in 98, it came up to $628 in 2004. The average growth rate during the Vajpayee years, despite the Kargil war, was over 6%. So why did Vajpayee lose the 2004 elections? How Atal Bihari Vajpayee fell out with the RSS post Godhra riot is a little known secret but forgotten today. And if you look carefully at the events, Modi may just be retracing the same steps, the difference being Modi is much more hawkish and Atal Bihari ji was considered a dove. After the 2002 Gujarat riots, Atal Bihari Vajpayee was a visibly upset person, and he had decided to get rid of Narendra Modi as the Chief Minister of Gujarat. In fact, the week following, in the National Executive meeting in Goa, Modi was supposed to offer his resignation. But then Lal Krishna Advani, read here as the RSS, exerted so much pressure on Atal Bihari Vajpayee that he had to backtrack. During the national executive meeting, the RSS had engineered slogan shouting, Istifa mat do, Istifa mat do. The RSS had managed to check Atal Bihari at that time, if not checkmate him. He had a string of the so-called weak ministers who were not part of the core Hindutva ideology. He had Jaswant Singh and Brijesh Mishra who were hated by the RSS. He then had George Fernandes and he had the support of people like Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish Kumar. The RSS was never comfortable with this model. In addition, the RSS thought he is going too slow on the Ram Mandir issue. In fact, the VHP at that time made personal attacks on Atal Bihari Vajpayee. The Vajpayee Musharraf meeting, also, if you remember, was unsuccessful but because of some hidden hand. The hidden hand could not have come without the knowledge of the RSS. So by 2004, the RSS had had enough of the Vajpayee model. They quietly did not support him in 2004, and that became the main reason of the downfall of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Till the end, Atal Bihari ji believed that his failure to rein in Modi after the 2002 riots was the reason of his losing the election, and not because the RSS did not support him, and neither because India was not shining at that time. As I said, Vajpayee always had a string of weak people around him, and those people could never support him when the need arose. Even the BJP presidents at that time appointed by Atal Bihari Vajpayee, people like Janakrishna Murthy, Bangaru Lakshman, or M. Venkaiah Naidu, all three of them never had the stature or the wherewithal to take on the RSS. Let's look at some of the similarities between Modi and Atal Bihari Vajpayee. If you look at the BJP presidents during the Modi term, it's only been Amit Shah and now it has been JP Nadda, who is again a very weak BJP president. In fact, had he been fighting an election, it's unlikely he would have won his seat again. So, as in the Vajpayee case, if a need would arise that the ministers will have to support him against RSS, there is nobody in his cabinet of that stature. For the moment, it appears that the Modi Shah combined have been able to achieve the impossible. The impregnable fort of the RSS has been conquered. The fall from grace of RSS appears to be complete, and Modi has come out even much stronger. In the last segment of my program, I will just discuss one incident which has again set the rumor mills rolling. This is the reconstitution of the BJP's Parliamentary Board. But the discomfort for Modi is that there appears to be a crack in the RSS as far as supporting Modi on this issue. And how the RSS is going to react till the 2024 election is going to be anyone's guess. This is the list of the new BJP Parliamentary Board members. The list includes JP Nadda, Narendra Modi, Amit Shah, Rajnath Singh, Yedurappa, Sarbanand Sonowal, K. Lakshman, Iqbal Singh Lalpura, Sudha Yadav, Satyanarayan Jatiya, and BL Santosh. Now, first thing you will notice is that none of these people can stand up against the Modi Shah combined. The control of Modi on the parliamentary board becomes complete after the exit of Nitin Gadkari. There is the customary RSS representative in BL Santosh, and there are only three more people who have some kind of RSS background. Narendra Modi himself, who was a pracharak, Rajnath Singh and B.S. Yadurappa, who were Shakha Kadewars in Mirzapur and Shikaripur, respectively. From the background of ABVP and Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha, we have four people, which is Nadda, Amit Shah himself, Rajnath Singh, and K. Lakshman. Now, the surprising fact is that there are three people who are neither BJP nor ABPP nor RSS. They have joined BJP midway, and that is Sarbanand Sonowal, Iqbal Singh, and Sudha Yadav. This is something which does not go down well with the RSS. These are pure outsiders who have reached the top posts. Dr. Iqbal Singh Lalpura is an decorated IPS officer and joined the BJP in 2012. The only thing in his favor could be that he is the chairman of the National Commission on Minorities. Lalpura was one of the three officers who were selected to arrest Jarnail Singh Bhindrawale. Dr. Sudha Yadav is a lecturer by profession. He lost her husband during the Kargil war when he died fighting the terrorists. Thereafter, she joined politics and has both won and lost election. She has been the in charge of BJP's OBC Morcha since 2015. 3 out of 11 members are less than 10 years old in the parliamentary board. None of them by any means are political heavyweights. They will sit together with people like Modi and Shah and determine the fate of many of the BJP aspirants. I am sure many in the BJP, forget the RSS, will not be liking this. But then, can they speak out? Though Nitin Gadkari was not a staunch RSS man, he had the advantage of being located at Nagpur, which is his hometown and his constituency. He had a very good relationship with the RSS office bearers like Mohan Bhagwat and the ex-General Secretary Bhaiyaji Joshi. Suresh Bhaiyaji Joshi was the Sarkareva of the RSS from 2009 to 2021 when he stepped down on health reasons. Thereafter, Dattatreya Hosbale became the new Sarkareva in March 2021. A little more about Dattatreya Hosbale. These are all media reports. There is a report in the press in 2018 which says who will be number 2 in the RSS. A Modi loyalist is causing disquiet. So the plan to bring in Dattatreya Hosbale had already started in 2018. He is considered a Modi loyalist. Then after meeting Modi in UP in 2021, he spent 4 days assessing the Yogi government. And then for reasons best known to him and the RSS, he has made Lucknow his hometown. And just look at the U-turn RSS has done regarding Modi's meeting with Pope Francis. You can go through the literature and always see what RSS has thought about the Christian community within the country. And here comes Dattatreya Hosbale, and he welcomes PM Modi's meeting with the Pope. And he goes on to say that the world is one family. And by the way, I'm still to find out what was that ill health of Bhaiyaji Joshi which made him resign from the post of the Sarkareva. Now, as Dattatreya becomes the new General Secretary of the RSS, things start to change for Nitin Gadkari. First and foremost, his access to the top brass of the RSS has been curtailed. The Sarkareva doesn't sit in Nagpur anymore. Nitin Gadkari can at best go and keep meeting Mohan Bhagwat. And if you look at the relationship between Modi and Mohan Bhagwat, well, all I can say is that Modi met Bhagwat twice before in 2013, once before the election and once after the 2014 election. Thereafter, he met Mohan Bhagwat in 2019. So, in the last 8 years, there have been only 3 meetings between both of them. On the other hand, Dattatreya Hosbale has already met Modi for sure once, but then being stationed in Lucknow, he will always be close to the Prime Minister. It is also rumored that the sacking of Nitin Gadkari had the blessings of Dattatreya Hosbale and not that of Mohan Bhagwat. It is also intriguing that why Dattatreya Hosbale sits in Lucknow and not in Nagpur. The only reason could be that his terms with Mohan Bhagwat are not all that well. The game between RSS and BJP for 2024 remains absolutely open. So, thank you for watching this episode. I'll see you again next week with some other data. Till then, goodbye and namaskar.